Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name is John Mark Bowling, and it is our pleasure to share some of Grove Atlantic's upcoming titles with you today. We've selected some books that will get book club members excited to read and that will spark meaningful, rich discussions along the way. The first book I want to tell you about is Douglas Stewart's debut novel, Shaggy, Bane, and it tells the story of a young boy living outside of Glasgow, Scotland in the mid-1980s. The region is hard hit by the collapse of the mining and shipbuilding industries, and it's in this setting that we find young Shaggy struggling to take care of his alcoholic mother, whom he dearly loves, but he's also struggling to try to be a normal boy when it's clear to everyone else but him that he's gay. This is a heartrending story, but it's punctuated with flashes of humor, and of course it's brilliantly, gorgeously written. Douglas wrote the novel over 12 years across mornings and weekends as he pursued a career in men's fashion design. And the book was published to great reviews, but it was right as the pandemic began and we had to cancel his tour to everyone's disappointment. However, the word of mouth was strong with this one, from passionate independent booksellers and readers who were just bowled over by it, and it continued to build throughout the spring and summer. And now, as of this filming, Shaggy Bane has been shortlisted for the Booker Prize, the National Book Award, the Center for Fiction's First Novel Prize, the Kirkus Prize, and longlisted for the Carnegie Medal, which is all very gratifying. And the new paperback editions have a reader's group guide inside, and that can also be found at groveatlantic.com.
Hi, my name is Justina, and I'm so excited to talk with you about Writers and Lovers by our superstar author, Lily King. Grove has been so fortunate to publish Lily throughout her entire career, including her breakout success, Euphoria, a few years ago. Writers and Lovers was a critically acclaimed New York Times bestseller, and we're so excited to bring it out in paperback this February. It follows Casey Peabody, who's 31 years old. She's really at a crossroads in her life. She's reeling from her mother's unexpected death. She's recently had her heart broken. She's been working on her unfinished novel for the last 6 years. And to make ends meet, she's working as a waitress in Cambridge. During this period, she meets and falls in love with two very different men. So this is absolutely a love story in the best sense, but it's really about Lily finding love for herself and finding freedom and fulfillment in her creative desires. Lily's often said that she wrote this book to be the book that she wished she had as a young artist starting out. We read so many books about male artistic pursuits and so few about female ambition and drive. What a pleasure to talk with you about Walking with Ghosts, the memoir by Gabriel Byrne. You're probably familiar with Gabriel from his wonderful career as an actor on the big and small screen, but he's also a gifted writer and an incredible storyteller. This is in no way your typical Hollywood memoir. It's really a portrait of Gabriel's life. He grew up the oldest of 6 children in working-class Dublin in Ireland. He was heavily influenced by the church. But really in this memoir, he writes about the universal, about things that are true for all of us, about mortality and time. He does have these wonderful vignettes of his time in Hollywood on film sets with people like Laurence Olivier and Richard Burton. But really, like the best of memoirs, this speaks truth that we can all relate to and lights a path in the darkness.
Hi, my name is Kate Estrella. I'm a publicist at Grove Atlantic, and I'm going to talk to you about Milk Blood Heat by Dontiel W. Moniz, winner of the Alice Hoffman Prize. These stories, set in Moniz's native Florida, distill ordinary lives into their most basic, powerful elements. Caught in extraordinary moments of personal reckoning, Moniz's characters are thinking about womanhood, grief, inheritance, and what we may or may not owe one another. A 13-year-old in the titular story meditates on her sadness and how that sadness is different from her white best friends who she's taken a blood oath with. There's another story in which a mother finds out that her daughter may be in a relationship with her French teacher. And 2 estranged siblings are also, in this collection on a road trip with their father's ashes and forced to confront all the ways in which he's not yet gone from their lives. These stories are bewitching and searingly true, and they herald an important new voice in Florida fiction. The name Malcolm Brooks will sound familiar to anybody who fell in love with his debut novel, Painted Horses, which was a national bestseller and an Indies Introduced and Indies Next Pick. Brooks is back with Cloudmaker, a sweeping American novel set against the backdrop of a deepening Great Depression in Montana. The book opens with Houston, Huck, as he's known, Finn, finding a dead body in the creek with his friends. He steals the dead man's rare Lindbergh flight watch, and part of the reason he does that is that he's trying and failing to get a plane of his own off the ground. That's when his cousin Annalise arrives from Los Angeles. She's had flying lessons herself and has been sent away because of an indiscretion that she committed while back at home. The two immediately fall in together, and they're following Amelia Earhart's journey around the equator. And as they're trying to build a plane, they're also building their worldview. They're thinking about the difference between heaven and earth, tradition and what comes next. It's a really hopeful and beautiful lyrical novel. Brooks is known for this lush, breakneck prose that just sweeps you away, and I think it will truly make you feel like you're flying. Cloudmaker is out in March from Grove Atlantic.
The next book I'd like to tell you about is Viet Thanh Nguyen's The Committed. Viet's first book, The Sympathizer, was his debut novel, and it drew comparisons from Ralph Ellison to Toni Morrison and John le Carré to Graham Greene. It was a runaway bestseller and hailed as an instant modern classic, and it got tons of awards, including the 2016 Pulitzer Prize in Fiction. Since then, over the course of many opinion pieces and essays, he's also established himself as an influential voice on the topics of immigration, imperialism, and American culture. So his return to novel writing is a very highly anticipated event, and his new novel, The Committed, does not disappoint. This is a sequel to The Sympathizer, though it can be read as a standalone, and in it we find our unnamed protagonist as he arrives as a refugee in 1980s Paris, where he tries to escape his past. He turns to dealing drugs and falls in with a group of left-wing intellectuals and politicians, which in turn makes his life both more interesting and dangerous. Of course, the French occupied Vietnam before the US fought its war there, and in The Committed, Viet once again succeeds in marrying a clear-eyed political vision with a searing satire and an utterly page-turning thriller, which makes it fun to read, of course, but also a lot of fun to talk about.